welcome everyone to tap in today into a topic. We have to relate to this topic of AI in astrology as well. That when you give your birth information, AI can say so much about you. And so, how do we deal with this as astrologers? That is, I think, a constant question. And today I'm joined by such an app person, an app developer, the owner of Starfields, Alex Reuter. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I am honored to be here. I love your podcast, and I'm excited to talk about AI and all kinds of great stuff with you.
Thank you. I'm great. That's great. Yeah, because one thing is, okay, this is amazing that it says all of this about me, but then it can become a little scary for us astrologers, right?
Mm,
But the reason why, well, you contacted me, and I'm really happy about that. But the reason that I wanted you on is that we have been talking together, and I know your heart, and I know your drive, and I know your motivation for this that is utterly good. So it's not this a horrible thing out there that can just take over our jobs. It's
mm,
this, you are a really genuine person using AI for the good. So that's why I wanted to have a conversation with you about this. Can you maybe start
yes.
to share about why you started Starfields and something about
Yes, I
your
would love to. I would love to. And you're right. And you raised some really good points. And it's like we could talk about that directly. And then I would love to talk about kind of like where Starfields came from. But just to like get right to the point, like AI, like, yes, like it's here. It feels like it's here. But I don't think it's going to kind of replace anyone. Um, what I think is, it's interesting to see like Uranus moving into Gemini, like in this kind of like new era that's upon us. And it does feel like, okay, it could be a lot of things. But AI does seem like a pretty strong candidate for this kind of revolutionary change that's like coming over the world. And we're in the very beginning stages of it. So we are in the like what is going to happen stage. And so like what is going to happen? And the way I kind of look at it is it's really like when you go through your life, we all probably different cultures have different things that they value, but it seems like in many places in the modern world, people value intelligence, right? Like how smart you are if you're kind of as a young age, like, oh, you're going to this other reading group, you're this, and you have all of this kind of like praise and this value, and you kind of and you can tell that society is giving you a lot of credit for this attribute that a lot of people have, but really like you didn't do anything to get it, right? Either you have it or and there are like, okay, there are lots of different kinds of intelligence, which is one of the things I really love about astrology too, is that you can find your path through the world and that there are kind of like other ways for people to shine. But we're talking about AI, right? We're talking about intelligence.
yeah.
And what I think is really interesting about AI is that it is, in some sense, like devaluing intelligence or making intelligence a commodity, which had never ever been before. It had always been like if you're really smart, if you're really really clever, you're going to be great. You're going to do great, and we have this position ready for you where you're going to help kind of manage this part of society for all the other folks, and it's part of this kind of like managerial society. In a sense, it is what kind of gives intelligence its kind of prime position. And so, anyways, I think what's really cool about AI is that it's democratizing intelligence, is giving intelligence to everyone. So now everyone has like a genius friend in your pocket that you can ask anything, and you don't feel embarrassed. Like some people feel like, oh, I can't ask this question because then they will know that I don't know this thing. And I think that holds back a lot of people in education, and that never had bothered me. But maybe it did bother me. Maybe at some point it bothered. It doesn't bother me anymore.
Mm.
But now you can ask these things and you can get answers. And I think in terms of like what astrologers do specifically, um, there is no like it's going to be replaced because the human element and the kind of the supercomputer, which happens for experienced astrologers, where you've kind of seen these patterns many, many times. Even the AI cannot see all the combinations in someone's chart. Like the number of things that are there is, you know, you have to kind of go through the process of winnowing down and finding the important things, right? And that's part of your skill as an astrologer. And also there is the important like psychic aspect to astrology. Like a lot of astrologers also have a kind of intuitive side, which really we're saying like there's a psychic part of the reading where you're like, I'm giving this kind of technical interpretation, but then also I'm giving this kind of intuitive interpretation for this point in this person's life. So, um, and then the person will, you have your consultation, the person will leave, and then oh, they thought of some question as they're walking out the door, and they're going to call you back like, no, you're busy, you're going to do something else. Like, oh, and they're knocking on the door like, no, I need to know more about this or more about this, and you're like, hi, gosh, I have my own life. I have to take my cat to the vet. Like, I don't have time for this, right? So what are they to do, right? They are now have to wait. And like, no, they can go and they can talk to this app. They can like talk to their friend in the app who can
Yeah,
help them. And I think it's just a way to get people to be able to go so deep on their own charts where they can become like the experts of themselves and experts of the people in their lives, um, to an extent that maybe like it would be overwhelming for astrologers to say like there's somebody who has an extremely complex chart, which is I think everybody, right? Everybody's chart can is worthy of a lifetime of study, but there's no
yeah.
way that an astrologer could give a lifetime of study to
In
every
one
single
session.
person.
No, you're so right. I love your answer. I love your answer. That starting by saying this is, you have this intelligence in your pocket, and I think you're right. Like the culture is now, it doesn't matter if you ask it or not. It's kind of fun. Like just ask stupid questions to see
Yes.
what it will answer. It's not revealing to you in any way about that. And then you go into saying, okay, so there is a difference between the app and an astrologer, because
Mm,
there's the intuitive side and there's this synthesizing, this lovely word for me to say,
yes.
synthesizing element of doing astrology is putting it together. And also, it's just, I'm also thinking like, okay, so I put this together, and what does my client say, right? Oh, he says, no, that's not it. Okay, I'll go to something else. So,
Mm,
so there's that human factor where it's live, and you can have that exchange in a different way. Um, but then you say, well, it's, as I hear you, it's a great supplement, right? It,
yes.
an
Yes.
addition, and it's
Yes.
something that's really empowering. And I think astrologers really also need that, like we need for our clients to have that, because yeah, like you say, it's the endless emails otherwise. And also I feel
Mm,
often that I can't really express it. Like if they
mm,
don't study this, then I don't know how to I don't know how to come through with it. But so, and actually an app like that, uh, that is in a way a kind of a study, but it's just an easier way to study, I guess, your own chart.
mm. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Like you have a um something to kind of focus on, and you want to educate as much as you're going to advise. And so there's the advice. What should I do about this? Okay. That's like a specific answer. But really, like, it's like teaching someone to fish. It's like, but why is this my answer? My answer is based on these aspects of these elements in your chart. And so you could print out some material and say, here, read about this, read about this, read about this, and learn and meditate this. But the app is a great way for that. So um, yeah, like I just kind of launching it, so I'm very open to ways that maybe astrologers and their clients could use it to kind of have that kind of collaboration where it's like, here, I'm going to send you some parts or to some places or something like that. Like, yeah, like I think that would be super cool. um
Okay, be careful what you say to the listeners. Oh, I'm open for suggestions. You're gonna
I
get
am.
emails.
I would love
Great.
that. I would love that.
Okay, I'll include your email so people can, if they hear this, come with
Please.
suggestions to you. Oh, that's really
Yeah, yeah.
generous. Everyone wants a part in this. Because and I'll say, but the way that it is now is there's massive information.
Mm.
So I've had some friends and some clients give it a go, and
Oh,
people have
great.
been like saying, so I have this one friend who don't know any astrology at all. We
Mm.
haven't really gone there because again, because if people don't know it, then it's kind of empty what I say, if they don't.
Yeah.
It's like I just have this whole other world, and they can say, okay, it's not important for them in that way. So
I
I
know what you mean.
don't we don't really talk about it. But then he tried the app, and he was like, how is that possible? That experience, right?
Yeah, yeah.
How's it possible that anyone can know about this? So I just want to say that there is already massive information as
Oh,
it is
that's
right
great.
now.
Yeah, I mean, I
Mm,
think that's one of the cool things about it is, you know, astrology is real. Like it really works. And if
yeah.
it really works, then there's no reason that a computer wouldn't be able to come up with very a good analysis of the technical aspects of the chart because either it's real or it's not real. And so that,
Mm,
there are simple elements which then, the synthesis and the kind of interpretation, that is, of course, an art and always will be an art. But I think, one of my favorite astrologers to read is Dean Rudyard, and he has this kind of like always in his writing is like you cannot just look at these one point and this one placement. You have to look at it holistically, and it's so hard to look at things holistically. And but the what's really cool about the kind of current AI is that it actually can try that. And so yeah, I love
yeah.
that people are already finding value in it, and I think there is an incredible power in just the current state of these kind of large language models, these AIs, and as they are getting better, I will just keep adding the latest version in so that it's kind of using that. But then also like the app uses very as much as I can like um, has a layer of its own uh, astrology heuristics baked in. So like there's techniques that it uses where it's like if you just took your whole chart and threw it into ChatGPT, it might get confused. And I think that is definitely something that you have to watch out for with like because it will if you don't know that much about it and it might make a mistake and it has this kind of tendency people see to hallucinate. Um, but what I think is, yeah, sorry, you're going to say something. I'll let you
Yeah,
finish.
yeah. Otherwise, I can't remember all
Yeah.
all the things I wanted to comment on. Uh, yeah. So the thing about you were mentioning Dean Ruder, and I think really any professional astrologer will say you cannot go just planet by planet and then you can know yourself. You have to get that whole picture, and then you're
Mm.
saying that complexity is something that this technology can actually capture. So, and then yeah, I forgot the last point you had.
But yeah, it's like if you are like to do that synthesis on someone's chart, it takes time. It takes time to like
Yeah.
feed it in.
Now
And
I remember now because you
okay,
were
good,
saying
good, good.
then that the special thing about rather than just Googling it or using ChatGPT is
Mm,
that here you have like a certain method, and that's really important in astrology because otherwise there's just so many ways to interpret a
mm.
chart, and it's I think you can really get psyched out. I think your mind can explode from that. I think you do need to choose at least one or two concepts, one or two ways to interpret a chart, and then stick with that. Uh, so so
Yeah,
so yeah. So you've
yeah.
had
So
some
yeah,
thoughts about that. Yeah.
I I would yeah, I'd love to talk about that because like I think in general like any you know this kind of gets to like a very deep point about like the nature of reality, right? And there is an intention that is part of how reality progresses. So you have to have something that you're looking for in the chart. Like you have to have some way of looking. Otherwise, yeah, like you don't know what you'll get.
Yeah. A way
Um,
of looking. Yeah. Yeah.
and so some of I love Dane Ryder, and like I'm only here because so many people have done so much previously, so many great astrologers, and it's like this. rich human heritage that is all over the world. It's just it's so humbling, and at the same time it's so inspiring. But so one of my favorite astrologers, probably a lot of people love this guy, is Stephen Forrest. Um, and what's so great about him is he's a wonderful interpreter, but he's also very specific in terms of some of his technical advice. And so he has this concept called the four nets. And I mean, you've probably heard of this, where it's like
Yeah.
you have these kind of like large nets to capture like large creatures in your astrological forest, right? And you have this big net, it will catch a bear, but it has all these holes in it. And like, so you'll catch Saturn, or you'll catch a progressed sun changing. You won't catch the moon, right? It'll flip right through.
Yeah.
Um, and so I use the four nets approach to kind of do a like a query on the astrology to get the subset that is actually used for the interpretations for the year or the month or the week or the day. So if you have like any of those, if you look in the app, it offers this kind of like weekly, monthly, daily kind of view. Um,
Right.
and then there's like this other section of the app where you can get like a holistic reading, and it will send everything for that specific point.
Mm.
But you can also ask it questions, and so this is part of the coolest parts. So you ask it questions. What it does is it asks the AI first. Okay, sends the question and asks, what are the astrological facts that would most useful to answering this question? You can ask it anything. You can ask it like, what should I have for dinner? You can ask it, when will I die? Right? Not that you should ask something like this, but right. And so then it will send back, okay, you need to scan the transits for this, or you need to look at, where the planets are right now for what should I have for dinner, because it doesn't, you know what I mean? And so then it goes into the system and it uses the Swiss ephemeris, and it gets the subset of data, and then it sends that, so that it's not like this giant kind of unlimited scope. It's the focus scope, and then the interpretation comes back based on that.
Yeah. That was a quick ending based on that. Yeah. So that's great using his systems to enforce systems. He's very systematic, and it's a really good way of yeah plotting it into your own mind. And it's yeah, this is what is so amazing and hard for me still to fathom that this is because it's so technical. Astrology is so technical.
Yes.
If I had known, I mean, in the beginning, it took a while to go
Mm.
all the way because it was so technical, and I was like, this is so boring. So not until I got the whole psychology part, then I was motivated to do the work.
Oh,
But there
cool.
is so much technical stuff that so the computer can do it for us, the machine can do it for us, and maybe the machine is with us on this one, right?
Oh,
This is
yes.
what you're creating. You're creating not something a machine that we have to rage against then, but something that's going to be on our side,
Oh, yeah, for sure. And
serving our purposes.
yes, yes.
But
And then
I'm sorry to speak like this, but it's a
yes.
little scary. Like all of this hard work that I know that I have to go through when I'm learning
Mm.
a new technique or something, and the way that you describe it, it takes all the data and it's just blah. It just knows. Oh my god! But that's great if we can use it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that's great about the AI, and also something to watch for, but something that kind of I think puts people's minds at ease, because like before I started doing this, I worked as in the computer field. I worked in as a programmer, uh, managing programmer, whatever, you know what I mean? And even like let's say a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, I would use the AI tools like 10% of the time, and we would do 90% of the work, and it wasn't that good. And now it's completely flipped to like 90% of the work, maybe even 95% of the work is done by the AI. But it still makes very, huge mistakes, and it needs human guidance. Um, and so like you'd think like you could say like, here's the system I want to build. You tell it to build the system, and you watch it go, and it's like, oh my gosh, like in the first day it's made so much progress. By the end of like the day, though, it will get lost in some kind of tangle of the jungle, and
Okay.
it will never get out. And so, at least the way it is set up right now, like you always need a human in the loop, always. And in the case of astrology, you need to have like there is always a place for people. And so the scope of the questions is important to kind of like um, keep it limited. But what else is kind of neat about it is, so how do these LLMs work? How does so the AI is basically this LLM, right? We all have heard this phrase like large language model, and what is it really, right? What's really kind of neat about it is if you study how the large language models work, and you wonder like how does it know like what a dog is, how does it know what astrology is, how does it know what anything is, right? It actually doesn't know what anything is in and of itself. Every single element in the model is related to every other element. So all the words are in the AI's view are relationships to other words, which when you think about it, if you look at the dictionary, it's kind of the same thing. Like the dictionary has a bunch of words that all relate to other words, but there's no dictionary that could ever write all the original words because what was it going to write it in, right? So it has all these relations, and the model is this network of relations that are kind of weighted and based on the context. Um, and then what it does in terms of language is it uses probability to determine, okay, what should come next. So when you say it uses probability, what that really means is it actually is non-deterministic. So there is at the heart of this kind of like very, we think of computers as very ordered, right? Very like deterministic. There is a completely indeterministic heart. At the center of AI is chaos. And chaos is another word for the mystical void, right? Like it's a portal that the
It is so
spirit world
interesting.
can come right through.
Oh, that is so interesting. Chaos is at the center of it.
Yes, it
And
has to be because like how it is, we don't really know how randomization works, right? Like you want to roll the dice, you want randomization because there needs to be some there's otherwise it doesn't it doesn't work if it doesn't have if it because it is based on probability. So it chooses based on a probabilistic kind of roll the dice, right? And so how do dice work? Like anyone who's like a gambler knows, like not that I'm a gambler, but like you can actually influence the dice, right? With your mind. There is something besides the kind of there is no such thing as a purely materialistic world, right? A purely
there's
materialistic world
really,
doesn't exist.
it's really like a mystical aspect to this.
Yes, yes, for sure, 100%. Like the spirits come right through. Now the question is, okay, some people will say, "What spirits?" And people get nervous about this. Like now we're, kind of praying to some
Robot.
god that we don't trust or we shouldn't trust. But it's like it's really just the portal. Like which gods are coming through. Like it really depends what gods you're praying to, right?
But
So
just enlighten me here.
okay,
It's technical stuff. You sit there and you write on your computer. You're doing something, right? You're
yes,
not just
yes.
meditating this app
No,
to
no, no.
exist. You're
There's code involved. There's lots of code that went
okay.
involved. Yes, of course,
Yeah.
of course.
Okay. Yeah. No, I'm trying to understand this. I've heard, of course, the resemblance of spirituality and
Mm.
new technology, but not that I understand it.
Well, I mean, and so like the app has a lot of uh, also like kind of placements in there. So you could look up your, Black Moon Lilith in Aries in the eighth house, right? It's in there already. It's like, and this free. You can just go and click and read about it. And so um, the number of permutations of placements, if you buy like a lot of those like astrology books or astrology, even like the astrology cookbooks, there's a limited number, right? They
Mhm.
don't have, they may have a lot of house sign combinations, or they
Yeah.
might have
Yeah.
a lot of planet house combinations,
Yeah.
but you very rarely see all of the planet sign house combinations written
Yeah. Yeah.
out because the book
You,
would be like 5,000, 10,000 pages. It's too much,
you
right?
can't. Yeah.
But with AI, you can. And so the app, if I were to print out the astrology that's in the app and just print it out, I think it would be like a 5,000 page book. And I made it by I wrote like 50 pages of my own astrology, and then using AI to weave the pieces together, kind of created the placement. So it's like there's this collaborative aspect, uh, collaborative approach to kind of
That's
building it, to making it. So even the artwork is in there. Is like I use the Sabian symbols are in there, and all the images of the Sabian symbols are in there.
yeah.
And I didn't draw them, and but they're based on the the was the Wheeler's uh, kind
Technology.
of the
Tech,
what what the psychic who was sitting with Mark Emmett Jones in the park in San Diego. This was 100 years ago, which is kind of neat. It's like it's 100 year exactly. No one knows what day in 1925 they did this, but it was 100 years ago that the Sabian symbols were kind of
oh,
put together.
okay. Oh no, I didn't. I wasn't. Okay, that must be so interesting. This work that you do. Can you just share with listeners, because I know a little bit about your story, but just repeat it to me. Your story about how you left your job and then you
Oh yeah.
decided to do this thing instead.
Well, yeah, that's crazy. Um, so yeah, so I, like probably many listeners, I was on a spirit quest, and started like maybe 3 years ago, and it was progressing, and lots of wild things happened. And I don't want, it'll take a long time to describe the whole thing. I won't go through the whole thing. But along the way, I became uh, addicted to eventually meditation, and completely like it can change my life to the point where, like, if I don't meditate, I can feel like I feel the complete drain, right? And I'm meditating, and I'm reading about astrology, and I'm like obsessed with astrology, and I'm looking at my chart, and like my uh my 50th birthday was in March. It was coming up, and I was like looking forward to, like, there was like an eclipse, and I was like, oh, what's going to happen? Like, what's coming for me? And also, Pluto, if you can see, is right now, like, right at my IC. So in my, we all, not everybody, as we know, gets the kind of every aspect of Pluto, because it takes so long to go around. So there's select things that happen to each of us based on Pluto. So I have Pluto right now exactly opposite my MC. So my career, my public life is being like transformed by Pluto, that planet of transformation. No,
And did
I
you know
had a
that back in March? Did you know that? Did you know
I
this was
mean,
coming?
I knew it was coming, but I didn't know what was going to come. I was thinking, oh, I should make this astrology app. I really think this would be the time to do this, because I was like seeing the advance of the AI, and in the past I was like, oh, okay, this would take, because it took me I ended up, so the company I was at ran into some, like, absolutely shocking and sudden financial troubles that
Really?
no one could possibly foresee. And I get a call one day, and my boss is like, oh, my boss wants to talk to me. And I get on, and there's my boss, and there's the HR lady. And you just know, you're just like, oh my God, like, that's happening. That's happening right now.
So they
And I
let you
have,
go.
like, there
They
we
let,
go. And
yeah,
and so it's shocking, absolutely shocking when that happens. And you
yeah,
feel like you go through this range of emotions, but
yeah.
I quickly came to feel gratitude, deep gratitude, because this is the perfect time. Like, this is what I have been training for this. And I do this all day now, every day. This is all I do. I am just working on Starfields. And I wouldn't be able to otherwise. I would think, oh, I could do it. I could do it in my spare time, especially with all these tools now. It's so much. So it took me 3 months to build the app. Um, and I had not built an app before. Like, I've made games, and I've been in programming for a really long time. Like, I have a master's degree in computer science. Like, I know what I'm doing, but still, it would have taken me we're taking a team of people like 6 months to a year, just a year ago,
That's
and it
amazing, isn't it? Isn't it
yes, it
amazing?
is,
It's like
it is
you were right on time.
right
Now,
on time.
now it's
Yeah,
possible, and it wasn't just a while ago.
it wasn't. And as I was like,
It's amazing.
um, I was listening to a podcast in February by this group. This podcast called it the Technology Brothers, and they were talking about how because it happens really quickly. Like the AI got so good, and they're like, what when there was free intelligence glittering on the ground, what are you going to say to your children that you did with it? And I was like, what am I going to say I did with it?
Okay.
I was like, I'm going to make this astrology app.
Wow,
And
that's
yeah,
a
it would have probably
confronting.
taken me a year and a half to do it by myself, just a year ago, and instead of 3 months. And also like thousands of pages of astrology. And also, it wasn't really possible to do it because like the ask feature is probably the coolest one where you can ask it anything. And people when people start to like really get into it, like you think like, oh, I because if you get you can get like you can buy credits in the system and you can use it for this and that. But once you start asking, like you realize like you can ask a lot of questions. And you can ask about other people. So you could put like your family in, you can ask about how would we do this. But like that wouldn't even have been possible a year ago.
No, and I just want to say, from the professional astrologist perspective, then you go and do that, and then you consult someone. And
Yeah.
it's not just about us making a living, because I'm sure we'll just find another AI way to do that. But because of ethics, right? Like, okay,
Mm,
so you're looking at someone else's chart there, and then if you don't know a lot of astrology and it's not your plan to really study it seriously, then you might just have the idea that now you know this person, or this is how he is, and so it's important to consult someone about it, because what I really would like for people to get out of this is help with the imagination, right?
mm,
And for me, with the app, is also like, oh yeah, I can imagine something. Is I know it's not exactly what it says, but it has opened up my own mind, right? To go,
yes.
I know is true to go. So anyway, I'm just I'm just saying
No,
it's
that's
a
good.
compliment to
Yes. That's a
uh,
really good point.
right. But it is amazing how many things you can do with it, for sure.
Yeah, like when I started really getting into astrology, um, it's the most amazing thing for someone who like I spent most of my life not believing astrology, and actually like most people like looking down on astrology. And
This
what
is,
an
may I just say that
yes,
this is also really great with your setup with Starfields, is that you're both. You're not only a tech guy, you're also, an astrologer or astrology student of astrology,
a
uh,
true believer.
a true believer, a fascinated, obsessed astrology
Obsessed.
person like the rest of us. Yeah. So that's an important combination. Whereas you could also play with this if you don't really care so much about it, because
Mm.
it's all the data. So I think that's really important that you have your heart here. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's um, it's the most amazing thing. Like I think back to like I think the world, okay, the entire world. We are in this kind of moment where okay, modernity has, I think, reached its limit, and the symptoms you see everywhere. You work as a therapist, and you see people dissatisfied with what the options the world gives you. Okay, you can do this job, you can get this, go to this movie, you can drink this beer, and they're like, that's it. They're like, yeah, that's it. That can't be it, right? Um, and so like there's this feeling that oh, science, science has destroyed the mystery of the world. And science is always explaining like, oh, it's not cats don't purr because they love you. Cats purr for some other like reason. You're like, come on, like anyone's ever had a cat, like the cat is purring because their cat is happy. That happens
Mm.
to be with you. But anyways, um, and so science has kind of like demystified the world, allegedly. And the most amazing thing about astrology is that you realize, actually, no, actually, it hasn't. And all you have to do is just acknowledge and recognize that, okay, if astrology works, because you don't have to know why it works, you don't have to know what, there's no religion, there's no metaphysics, there's no story you have to believe, there's no story that explains it anyways. It just does work, and the fact that it does work means that magic is real and it rules everything, and it's just mind-blowing. um, but it's only mind-blowing when you are like in this kind of view of like this kind of limited scientific worldview. And it's not that we have ever would say like science isn't real, science doesn't work. Like, of course, we get on planes. Like, that's science, right? That's engineering based on science.
It's
And it's
different ways of knowing. It's different ways of knowing.
mm,
That's important, right? They're equally valid, but for different things, right?
yeah,
And so here you're combining it because it's based on
yes,
it's based on technology, however scientific that can be, and then this spiritual um, the content, like the meaning of the
yes,
planet. Yeah,
yes. That's such a good point. Yeah, like, um, and what's really neat too is like just looking at, okay, the astronomical view of the planets and the astrological view of the planets.
yeah,
They are two ways of looking at the same thing,
yeah.
which is the beauty of the system, the way that it works. Like, why does it work? Okay, we don't know why it works, but we know that it does. We know
Mhm.
that both are true, that you can get to the moon by going in this direction in space, and you get to Mars going this direction in space, but that also the moon and Mars, based on the Earth-centric positions, have
Mhm.
impact on the beings on the planet in a way that is not
It
does not
stands
seem
for
to
something.
relate,
No,
but it
it
does relate.
stands.
And it's like, yes, sorry, go ahead, go
Yeah,
ahead, go
it
ahead.
stands for something, right? It's
Yes,
symbolic. It represents some part of our psyche, and that's that whole interrelation that's really hard to explain. But you can
right, which
feel
is
it, you can sense it, so you can go there without having maybe to explain it. Um, Alex, I'm just I'm just noticing time, so
okay. Yes.
I wanted to just if we could just tune in and like a really quick scan. What do you really want to say more about Starfields? Is there anything people should know about the app? You mentioned that it's
Oh,
free, so that's pretty important to
oh
say.
yeah.
Right? That
The app is so cool. You will love it. People are people love thinks people are saying that it's a beautiful app. So okay, I want it to be
oh,
something
okay.
that like that people that like I want it to be something that people use to kind of learn about themselves and learn about the people in their lives. So like I'll tell you a quick story about like my wife and I um, used to get into arguments. So I've been married now for like almost 30 years. We used to get into arguments, and the arguments were like, because when I don't talk about something or I don't advocate for something unless I really believe it, right? And she has this amazing ability to try on this idea, take another position. And so I would sometimes get angry at her because she's also very smart. So she would take an opposite position to something that I was saying, and she might even demolish my position, but not even care. I'm like, how could you take this side without like really caring? And we would have like fights about this. And then, once I started getting astrology, I realized it is because I have Mercury in Pisces. And so I have this kind of very intuitive way of looking at things. My mind works in an intuitive way. And I am emotionally attached to ideas. And she has Mercury in Libra. So she's able to kind of switch between ideas, and she's a natural kind of like elevated mind. And once you kind of like see the astrology of things, it just like kind of probably with therapy itself, once you have that little bit of space between what you're experiencing and maybe a little perspective on it, you can start to laugh about it. You can start to say like, okay, we'll still have an argument, but instead of getting upset, we will just laugh. Like, oh, there you go again with your Mercury in Pisces. There you go again with your Mercury in Libra. And so my hope for the app is that people will use it to kind of learn about themselves, learn about the people in their lives, and just start to improve their own lives, and to know that there is meaning in the world, and that you're here for a reason, and that if you can find that reason and connect to it, you will have a better life, and the world will be a better place.
Ah, yes, there you go. That's a philosophy. Wonderful. Yes, and I love that example of if you just know, in a way, such a little detail, but it's really profound.
Mm,
It's not a detail where you're
yeah.
Mercury. It's a big deal. If you know that about the other person and you're even able to have some language for it between you, then it just makes those encounters easier. And yeah, and you can laugh about it and accept yourself,
100%.
accept the other person. It's just, yeah, you mentioned you're addicted to meditation. I think that's
Yes.
really good addiction you have there. I have an addiction to seeing people's birth charts. It's so
Oh.
painful. It's painful for me when I don't know a person's birth chart. If I have to interact with the person a lot, then it's like it's just so much easier for me
Mm,
because then it's like an open access for me without having to do any inner work. Then
yeah.
then I immediately accept the person because I've seen the chart. I've seen the
I totally understand.
of
Yeah,
their
it makes
soul.
it so much easier to understand them, to know what to expect. And and I think what's fascinating too about it is like as you become an adult, even and obviously as you're a teenager, you have this ego that develops in order to like make your way through the world. So you have to survive. You have to, and there's this competition, and there's like all of this kind of stuff that happens there, which you don't have this kind of wisdom about or reflection about. But a lot of times you don't know yourself, and so one of the things that's great about astrology is, and this is kind of like, okay, how do you know what you should be doing? How do you know what your path in life should be unless you know who you are
Mm,
first? And in order to kind of be yourself, you have to first know yourself. And that I think is like the key with astrology that
yeah,
unlocks like who you really are.
yeah, yeah. And so it's such an help with that app in your pocket. So yeah, so I'm glad we had this conversation so people
Me too.
know about it, know about who is behind the scenes, who is doing all of this.
It's
At
me.
least in part, it's you. It's somehow
I mean, yeah, it's me.
from
It's me and it's everyone. Everyone who ever made astrology and that the system
yeah,
learned about. I mean, it's all kind of in there. It's
yeah,
this fascinating kind of like people are a little bit upset about these companies have done this because they just hoovered up the entire human knowledge and just put it in there. And there
yeah.
is, there is like,
That's
there is a claim to say like, hey, that's not fair. Like, who gave you the right? It's like, I don't know. I don't think
yeah.
anyone necessarily did, but there's this old kind of saying like, is it better to ask permission or ask forgiveness?
That's that old saying. We've said it a few times, haven't we?
Yes.
Yeah, that's why I started with that intro. That I'm very aware of the ethics here,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
also that we are not gonna get rid of this. This is gonna, like you were mentioning, your Uranus and Gemini. I think you're absolutely right. I think that is that and that free source of intelligence, like you said. So and
Yeah.
complexity.
Yeah.
So
Oh, one more thing I'll say too is I wanted to say this is that you kind of I love your podcast and I love your guests. They're all so fascinating and there's so much depth to them. And but one of them I'm talking about Neptune and Saturn. What does it mean? Neptune and Saturn in Aries, and what does it mean? And I hope that, and the app was born with that. I hope that it's this kind of destruction of the materialist worldview
yeah.
finally that it will come
Yes.
to an end as the kind of like basis for the world. And it's like, okay, it's just this pendulum that swings and it always swings too far. It has to. That's how the pendulum swings. But I think it's swinging back the other way. And I'm excited for that. There will be this kind of like melting of society and it may be very, very chaotic. I mean, it may be kind of scary, but I'm not scared about that at all. And I feel like we are here. We are not here to be on the beach. You weren't born to go sit on the beach unless you had a very hard last life. Okay, then you might have to be ghosted on the beach. But in generally, you're here for some reason,
Mm,
and whatever it is, it's like I believe it's part of your soul's evolution. We can get into that more at some other time. I know we're running out of time, but the
mm.
whole kind of I have an entire I believe there's like a very specific reason that every one of us is here. So
Yeah, yeah. And I think that underlying convictions you have there are also important in your own work, right? Like you
Mm,
know
yes.
that
Yeah.
you're doing this for a purpose, and just I don't have your birth chart, right? I have it in here, but it's been a while.
Mm,
But you are an Aries, right?
yes. I have an Aries.
Six house.
I have Aries. I have Libra rising, and I have Uranus right on my ascendant. But it's in my
That's the
ascendant is
technology
very late Libra, and then the I have Uranus and Scorpio right there.
right there. Yeah, yeah. So that's a big part of you to to be able to do this. Yeah, that technical part of Uranus, but also the connecting people part of Uranus.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking about your Aries there, that the purpose and the really importance of developing, becoming yourself, right? So I
Mm,
think it makes a lot of sense that we are hearing this message from you around, yeah, purpose, and everyone is here for a reason. Goddamn,
yes. Yes.
here for a reason, right? Just don't tune out and get lost in that everything is physical. But yeah, I think you're right. I think it's a really good interpretations of Saturn Neptune there. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
I think the feeling that people have sometimes of like going through like why do I always do this, why people go through these cycles, and I
yeah,
think astrology is a great way to kind of maybe notice certain cycles, and cycles are there happen to you because you are learning something this way, and some things are only possible to learn through time. That's why time exists, and you have to go through the cycle, and if you feel the cycle, you feel this pain, you feel like you can't take it anymore, you can't bear it anymore, that's a good sign because it means you're probably about to break out of the cycle.
yeah. Otherwise, about to go to therapy, right? You need some therapy.
Right,
That's
right.
your term.
Therapy is a great way. Great
Therapeutic
way.
astrology.
Yeah.
So that's really so. This is because then you learn something. But we can have more conversations, right? Because that's an interesting question. How do we store all of that knowledge we get from astrology?
Mm,
But at least for now, my conclusion is it's stored somewhere that it needs to go further down and through the system, through the emotional body, and that's where therapy comes in for me.
yes. Integration.
Integrated, yes, yes. So again, this is a supplement, but it's just a really
Yes.
awesome one. And
Yes. Yeah. It definitely
yeah,
is. It's a way
and
to kind of
I have
keep it
already.
going.
Sorry, we're so excited, both of us.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I keep talking.
I
Keep, please go. Go, go.
don't know.
What were you saying?
Zoom decides who they get to hear, so I don't know who they heard. I just want to say that excuse me, that I already sent you my request, right? That I think that you should do Starfields more so that you can meet a partner.
Oh,
And that's probably because I'm single, and it's probably because you're not single that you don't think this way.
yeah, I will definitely do that. I think it's like it's one of those like chicken and egg things where like we need a bunch of eggs first. We need
Yeah,
so that people can connect. So but yeah, like
there's
I
many
think it would
options.
great way to kind of yeah, see who you can meet and already have their chart in hand. Though it's interesting I think also at some level uh if you look at my wife and I, we have she is Virgo, and you would say like, oh, Virgo Aries is it's not a good match, but we are a great match. And you have to go like a level deeper. Like
Have a level
her
deep.
she
Yeah,
has Sagittarius rising, I have Sagittarius
yeah.
um moon, and she has Aries moon and I have Aries sun. And so
Yeah.
they're like we have like
Help for
very deep ties.
That's helpful seeing those on those nuances rather than just your star sign.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
Alex Reuter, thank you so much. We
Ah,
have
thank
to
you,
end here,
Nana. Thank you
but
so much. I'm so honored to be here. I had
let's
such a great
continue.
time.
Let's continue the
Yes,
conversation. I'm
yes, for
excited to
sure,
follow
for
your app,
sure.
and we'll put links to it, of course.
Yes, that's so great. Thank you again. Thank you, thank you, thank
Thank
you
you.
so